On Remembrance Day, we pause and honor the bravery and sacrifice of those who served. We live in the freedom they fought for. We walk in the peace they protected. And we proudly display this in our communities.
This is the cenotaph for Dover. It's for honoring veterans serving and retired. And we come here every November 11th for Remembrance Day. And behind the actual cenotaph is a replica of a caribou for the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. And there's a lot of history here in the town itself with the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and the Royal Canadian Navy and Canadian Army. And the caribou is their coat of arms and their hat badge. So if you never heard of the story about Beaumont-Hamel, that's a really, really interesting story to read, and go check it out.
This is out of my element. Tony is a 20-year veteran. As you can see, he's on the memorial here for his 20 years of service. My grandfather here, Ronald, he was in the forestry unit, overseas and that. So there's Tony, elaborate on your career.
Well, I did almost 20 years in the Navy, not quite, but
you can call it 20 years.
20 years. I was a marine engineer, stationed in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I served on two ships, HMCS Athabascan and HMCS Iroquois, as a marine engineer. And
seen the world.
Yeah, I've seen most of Europe, some of Africa, the Mediterranean, South America, the Caribbean, the Eastern Seaboard. It's the normal spots that we go to in the Navy, and been a part of a lot of missions.
You also got acknowledged for a few things you did during.
As the guys mentioned, Tony served 20 years in the Navy as a Marine engineer, serving on the HMCS Athabascan and the HMCS Iroquois. During his time in the Navy, Tony acquired medals, rewards, and recognitions. Pictured here are his medals, badges, and Navy pin. From left to right, the first medal is the Operational Service Medal Humanitas. This medal is given to recognize direct support in overseas operations in response to disaster or human conflict, including rescue, relief, and reconstruction. Secondly, there is the Operational Service Medal Expedition. This medal is given to recognize direct support in overseas operations with dangerous circumstance. Third is the Special Service Medal for NATO service, given for 45 days of honorable service performed in approved locations outside of Canada. Tony served 8 months for this. Fourth is the Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee Medal. This medal is given to those who have made significant contributions to Canada or outstanding achievement abroad that has brought great credit to Canada. Finally is the Canadian Forces Decoration. This medal is given to those who have completed 12 years of service and maintained a good record of conduct. Tony has also received a Commander's Commendation for his support of Canada's response to the disaster in Haiti. Tony, aboard the Athabascan, diagnosed and rectified a problem with the ship's control system that was impacting the main engines. By conducting this repair, he allowed the ship to arrive in Haiti in time to deliver their much-needed humanitarian assistance. Finally, is Tony's Certificate of Service for 18 years of service to Canada. There's much more to be said about Tony's service. By the end of his service, Tony was ranked Petty Officer First Class.
The names listed on the Dover cenotaph are as follows. For World War I, George A. Butler, Albert Hunt, Martin Osmond, and David Way. For World War II, Ernest Collins, Arthur Ford, Earl Ford, Manuel Ford, Ronald Hunt, James J. Hines, Gordon Johnson, Benjamin Keats, William Keats, Alfred W. Mullins, Henry Green, and George Way. Modern-day CAF members: Marvin Ford, Tony Hounsell, Calvin Keats, Edward Kelly, Gregory Preston, Derek Parsons, Wayne Feltham, Martin Ford, Jamie Furlong, and Eric Preston Jr. Of the listed names, 3 are of personal significance, the first being Albert Hunt. Private Albert Hunt, born on September 9, 1897, son of Eli and Priscilla Hunt of Fair Island, Bonavista Bay, Newfoundland, worked as a fisherman. However, at the age of 20, on May 13, 1918, enlisted for general service with the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. He was discharged on December 30th, 1918. He served 260 days in military service in Newfoundland, France, and Belgium during the First World War. His reason for discharge was disability, but it is not stated of what. During his enlistment, he suffered from double pneumonia, as well as being shot. During World War II, he served in Gander as part of the Newfoundland Auxiliary Militia, and he is my great-great-grandfather. He lived to be 96 years old and died in 1993. Secondly is Ronald Hunt. Ronald was the man who raised my father, and when World War II came around, he signed up against his mother's will. He was deployed in the Newfoundland Overseas Forestry Unit. However, when he received his acceptance letter, his mother tore it up. Regardless, he ended up in Scotland, assisting in the forestry unit. And although he passed in 1997 at the age of 77, Dad has told me hours and hours of stories about his childhood and how Ronald raised him. Ronald was the most humble and calm man that there was. He had a love for the blue nose, and when Dad was young, he would sing him "Oh Danny Boy" every night. Dad has always said that it has been a shame that we had never had the chance to meet him. Thirdly is Tony Hounsell, and although we've already said so much about Tony, there is so much more to be said. Although his military service ended after 18 years, he came home and served his community as the head of recreation. He is also a father and a grandfather. And then on top of all of that, he helped make the Outdoor Guys. With a list of accomplishments so long, it's no good to list them now, as there's so many more to come. As Tony had previously mentioned, the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, July 1st, 1916, was a defining and tragic event for the Newfoundland Regiment. The regiment, consisting of about 800 men, was ordered to advance across no man's land towards heavily fortified German lines. The attack began after British artillery failed to destroy German defenses, leaving the Newfoundlanders exposed to intense machine gun and artillery fire. Within minutes, the regiment suffered devastating casualties. By the end of the day, 324 men were dead or missing, and another 386 were wounded. Only 68 men answered roll call the following morning, an astonishing loss for Newfoundland. The bravery and sacrifice of these soldiers left a lasting mark on Newfoundland's collective memory and identity. In Newfoundland, July 1st is not only Canada Day, but also Memorial Day, commemorating the sacrifices of the Newfoundland Regiment at Beaumont-Hamel. The regiment's efforts are honored with the Beaumont-Hamel Newfoundland Memorial in France, where a bronze caribou statue overlooks the battlefield, a tribute to the courage and sacrifice of the fallen. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields, lest we forget.